Hello and welcome to this episode of True North. My name is Padraig and this week we're talking to Paul McAllister. Paul is a registered pharmacist turned holistic practitioner through his business Aho Wellness and has held space for so many people on so many different levels, whether that's a one-to-one, in a group setting or in ceremonies. Paul works with various different alternative modalities of healing, such as energy healing, plant medicines, and so much more. If the world of alternative therapies or complementary therapies, plant medicines, or spirituality intrigues you, this is going to be an episode that you definitely don't want to miss. So, let's get into it. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Aho Wellness is sort of your manifestation of your business, and I read that it was created to empower and enlighten individuals to heal within, enabling people who genuinely want to heal to do so with a natural and holistic approach. So I know a fair bit about what it is that you do currently and what you've done sort of in the last few years. And I know some people might know you and your background. I know a little less about your personal background, but just for now, on the back of that, what is it that you do and why do you do it?
So, what I do is I work with different healing modalities, Reiki, NLP, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy. I also work with several different plant medicines, Kambo, Rape, Sananga, and other plant medicines which are considered sacred. And why I do these is just to, again, as you said, it's to empower people to get the strength and the courage to look at their shadow, the shadow aspects of them, which is holding us back from doing our day-to-day activities or through anxiety. So if we look at the shadow with maybe a bit of light and love, then we get the strength to move forward, to reach our goals, our objectives, or to overcome mental health issues or addiction.
And like when you talk about the shadow, because I know a lot of people will hear people talk about shadow work and, you know, they might not fully understand what it is. You know, they might like think like you're going into like this big deep dark tunnel or cave or something like that. Sometimes from my experience, it can be a very uplifting experience. Other times, as you'll be aware, it's quite heavy. So for those people that don't understand sort of shadow work or the shadow self, can you give them a bit of an understanding of it from your perspective?
So basically, my understanding of it is there's always a balance of light and dark, like yin and yang, everything's in balance. So the shadow has to be there for us to be able to grow and see the light. So it's also, another way to put it would be, you have to experience sadness to be able to experience true happiness as well, or you have to experience like abandonment or rejection to be able to receive true love. Do you know, that's just, everything is sort of in an equilibrium. So like when we're doing shadow work, it's to go deep into these parts of us that we're rejecting or not wanting to look at. It may be stuff that happened during childhood. It could be some silly things as well that we were like, you know, being left at the school gates, like when we didn't want to go to school, but our mum was like, go in there, you have to go to school, and we're like crying, holding on to her leg. But inside, that inner child is still in there that felt abandoned, rejected. But if we go and look at these aspects of us with some love and a compassionate view on it, it sort of then brings out the playfulness again within us, the fun, that little child that loves to do the little activities. Like for me, I love getting in the water or doing quite adventurous stuff, and that's been coming out a lot more recently since I've been doing my shadow work, which is making me live a more fulfilled life.
I think, you know, there's something sort of personal that relates to me there as well, because more recently I have felt more of this inner child coming out, you know, and wanting to play, like wanting to be adventurous, but we still have that part of the ego, you know, that that sort of reptilian and sort of mammal brain within us that goes into fight or flight mode. There's no need for it really anymore, to be fair, but that anxiety creeps in. So what would you say to somebody like me or anybody, you know, listening, if, say, for example, I wanted to do like a cold water dip or something like that, or I wanted to just go and do something adventurous that I wouldn't normally do, so take myself out of my bubble, what would you say to somebody to say, just go and do it. Like, F it, just, you know, like, what would be your advice to that person to step out of their shell?
To step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes I'm like, are you if you're considering these things, then I would like sort of throw the question back at the person, like, are you actually comfortable in your comfort zone then?
Yeah.
If you're considering these things but not doing it, because there's obviously something going on in your life. Maybe, as I said, like a bit of anxiety or a wee bit of fears creeping in. But if you just go embrace it, live, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You're just going to be a bit cold for a few minutes, but just breathe through things.
Yeah.
And again, we're meant to change, we're meant to evolve, and it's like stepping out of the comfort zone to do these little activities, if it is cold water swimming. And it's just embracing life and the people that you meet when you do these things. You meet some amazing people, and there is a sense of community. And again, it might not be for you, but it's the people that you meet.
Yeah.
You make friends along the way. And it's just growth.
Yeah, expansion,
Yeah.
really, like from within your bubble. And there's something you said there actually, which was really interesting. You know, like, are you actually comfortable in your bubble? You know, like, if you're itching, you know, to do these things, you know, if this is coming up in your mind, it's coming up in your awareness, are you really comfortable actually within that space? Because there's something within you that wants to grow, it wants to expand, but there's also something holding you back. And most of the time, if you agree, you know, I don't know if you would, it is that person. It's just themselves holding themselves back. They have no other external limitations other than themselves, their internal sort of thought processing, and that human side. And you're so right. Like, at the minute, we really need community. We really need human connection. And I think, especially after the last couple of years, because we've sort of been stripped of that, you know, and I can't believe we're still talking about this in 2023. Like, because we've been stripped of that, it's hard for a lot of people to regain that sort of level of connection and community without facing some sort of anxiety or some sort of fear barrier that they have to step across. Which is, I know it can be difficult for some people, but at other times you do just have to think about it in a different perspective. You know, why do you care?
Yeah.
You know, like why do you care? Like, who's going to actually really be looking at you going, what the hell, why are they going into the water? It's so cold. Like, realistically, if I was walking past somebody on a beach and they're doing a cold ice dip, I'd be like, I wouldn't necessarily be jealous, but I would be like, that looks class, go you, you know? And that's sort of a perspective that I think a lot of us should maybe take on board and embrace the times whenever we do want to get out of our bubble, and just sort of go for it and embrace being in that present moment, you know? Because I know talking about being present and things like that's great, but sometimes it's quite hard for people to actually embrace being in the present, you know? Speaking about the present, I want to just take it back a little bit into the past. And, you know, we know a little bit about what you do, but I want to know sort of a bit more about sort of your formative years, you know, and what has your sort of formative years taught you, you know? Talk to me a little bit about those formative years, you know, growing up and sort of your experiences with life in general.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Belfast on the Falls Road. I had an older sister and a younger brother around that time. My dad wasn't always there at the beginning. So I was basically raised a lot with my mum, but like I had family around me as well. But then things started to change as my dad came back more into our lives. So we had to move to Derry, and my mum's from Derry, so I lived there for 7 years. Went to school there, and during those years, like, things got a bit hectic for the family and things. So there was a separation around the age of 13. My mum left, and it was quite a difficult time for me. But again, I just had this view at that time, like, everyone's parents split up. This is normal, whatever. It's totally cool. But inside, obviously, I was grieving, like, my mum leaving. So we moved back to Belfast because my dad's from Belfast, and he was around his family so he could get support, like looking after the kids, because there was 4 of us at this stage now. And then, but life in Belfast was completely different to, like, countryside life in Derry. I was like, you obviously going out with friends, and they're like young and they're smoking cigarettes and or fags, as they call them here.
Fags.
But like wee fags and gigs. But like, obviously, and then you're just a teenager and you're exploring, like drinking, smoking, and things like that. And I felt like my education took like a a back step because I was a bit of a swot, as you would say. I was quite. I knew I always wanted to work within healthcare. Like I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Always wanted to help people, and I always thought, yeah, like the sky's the limit. But then obviously moving to Belfast and getting involved with like drinking, and then I started taking drugs at a young age as well, and going out partying and clubbing and things like that. But it was just a form of escapism.
Yeah. Yeah.
I realise all that now. But I still obviously went through school. I got my A levels. But around that age, around the A levels, like I was having issues around like sexuality. Not an issue, but just there was things changing within me, and again that made me want to be more closed or more run away from people, especially family, because they knew, but I didn't feel that acceptance inside.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that I wasn't accepted. It was just I was internally not accepting myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
After school, I went to uni for 1 year to study quantity surveying, but it just wasn't for me. It was out in Charlestown. I don't have to be on a building site. But it was just like, yeah, it's not for me. So I went back, I went to Belfast Met and did a few more A levels, and I ended up going off to London to study pharmacy for 4 years. And it seemed like this was the closest I was going to be able to get to being like a doctor, like still helping people in some capacity. And during the years in London, things got a bit more quiet down. I'd still love to go out partying with friends, but I did start to take my education a bit more serious. I ended up getting a pretty good job in London, like the beginning off with like as a pharmacy intern.
Right. Okay.
I got a good role in like the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead Heath, and I met some amazing people there. But after the 5 years over in London, there was something telling me I need to go home. So I came home for a few months to Belfast, and the minute I got home, I was like, God, get me out of here again. So I ended up moving to Dublin after about 2 months, and I lived in Dublin for 5 years, working as a pharmacist and a few different roles. But still, I knew there was something always maybe wrong, but I didn't want to necessarily go to the doctor and ask for help, because within pharmacy, like I could see that people just constantly getting prescribed antidepressants. And the next thing, after a few months, the dose was up, and then after a few months again, another medication was added in, and then you could see that these customers or patients were just like walking zombies, and I didn't want that for myself. So I always was really keen and around sort of energy work or spirituality, so I always would have had Reiki or reflexology done, and those around those times. But it wasn't then until I took a role on as head pharmacist in the National Drug Treatment Centre in Dublin, where I was working a lot more with addiction and mental health. I was seeing like maybe 300 to 500 patients a day, giving out methadone and other highly addictive prescription drugs, like diazepams, sleeping tablets. And my dream always was to help people with maybe addictions and mental health, but there was that part of me going, this doesn't feel right. I just wanted to maybe have more of a purpose instead of giving them medication that was just as addictive. But obviously going on with my own struggles inside as well, I realised that I didn't need to go to the doctor. I stumbled upon plant medicines, and they basically changed my life. But it made me see everything that happened in the past through abandonment, through rejection, through my own like sexuality, that I was just running away from me.
Yeah.
Everything that I was doing, running off to London, running to Dublin, was running away from what I actually needed to face. So it wasn't until I moved back to Belfast that I was like, yeah, I need to face the shit, basically. And it was just not that it was actually shit, it was just parts of me that I was rejecting. I needed to speak to my family more, be there more for them, because I knew that they had their struggles. And I've came to realise that things were, when my mum wasn't there, it was because she had her own stuff that she was going through, and she could only had the tools at that moment in time to do the best that she could.
Yeah.
You know, she had her own struggles, and again with my dad, again he had his own struggles too. So I see them in a completely different way. Like it was during a few different say ceremonies that I've partaked in that I had this realization that I was like, I'm my own independent person. I always have been. I don't need my mum or my dad there. They were, let's say, like mentors or supervisors up till a certain point.
Yeah.
And I needed to detach away from them and see them as their own individual too. So I see them, obviously I love them a lot, but I see them as just people on their own path
Yeah,
and journey.
yeah.
So, which has really helped me, and I see that in every single person now. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes I have to go ask for help, but I know that I maybe might have to help some people
Yeah.
along their journey too. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, it's really interesting, and I suppose very much when you talked about sort of your younger years, and those things that you felt you had to come back to deal with in a sense. Those things were more vulnerabilities, if you would agree.
Definitely.
And I don't know if you feel that when you did return, because this environment is very much where those vulnerabilities were created.
Created, yeah.
When you stepped back into that environment, those vulnerabilities presented themselves back out again. They were like, "Oh, hello, how you doing? Just let you know I'm still here." You know,
There still are. At
and we all
times, yeah.
have
Yeah.
vulnerabilities. But I don't know. Would you agree with me in saying that instead of shying away from them, and I suppose this goes back to the shadow work, instead of shying away, we should sort of
Lean into it, yeah.
lean into it, shine a light on it, and give it compassion and care, rather than sort of trying to instill within ourselves, no, I'm not that type of person, you know, or I just rejecting that vulnerability. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. Before I actually moved back, like a good friend of mine was like, "Are you insane? This is where all this shit happened. You want to come back here?" And I was like, "I think I can deal with it." And they're like, "You're going to be like off the rails again within a few months." But I did. I came back, and it was seeing, because I seen everything in a different light. And it's like, as you were saying about the vulnerabilities, it's, we have a choice to look away from them, or we have the choice to look at them, and you just have to shine a bit of light, just lean into it. Again, to heal this pain, we need to feel the pain. It's like it's thrown about everywhere, but it's so true. It's all about growth, and if I choose to grow, and if I don't grow, then I'm just going to lie stagnant and in pain still. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you did touch on a point earlier on, and I thought it was really good. Like, you have to feel the sadness to be able to feel the happiness that comes as a result. And I'm a firm believer in the phrase, this too shall pass. And you'll have great days, and you'll be way up here, and you'll be feeling the buzz, and you'll be feeling the alignment and stuff. But this too will also pass, and you'll have the crap days, and you'll be in the mud, and you'll be in the trenches trying to track your way through, but that will also pass. And life isn't linear, and a lot of people sort of don't really realize that. They sort of think like, I'm here at A and I'm going to B when I die, and it's one straight path, whereas there are so many ups and downs and zigzags and swirls. It's everywhere. But all of those things that we go through, all of those experiences are to help us A, grow, and also B, help other people grow too. Just a quick word from our sponsors on this podcast. This week's sponsor is Simply Zen. Simply Zen is one of the most amazing, magical and spiritual holistic and wellbeing brands in Northern Ireland today and across the UK. Simply Zen hosts a range of different events, a range of different training academies, and they also have fantastic products on their website and in store that range from crystals, such as the one I'm wearing on my neck at the moment, to incense, jewelry, novelty gifts, ritual items, and so much more. Everything for your magical needs. Simply Zen is the home of holistic well-being, and if you want to visit them, they're based in Belfast City Centre and in Lisburn as well. You can also visit their online store, simplyzen.co.uk, and if you want to check out any of the events they have on, they always put out their events at the start of every single month, whether that is training courses, ceremonies, retreats, or just a simple meditation and sound bath experience. Simply Zen is there for all of your spiritual, mindful, emotional, and well-being needs. They also have a range of different therapies such as Reiki energy healing, Indian head massage, Rahani celestial healing, Hopi ear candling, facials, and so much more. So if you're into your spirituality, if you're into your mindfulness, if you're into your well-being, check out simplyzen.co.uk. And if you're wanting to shop online for an amazing gift or something just to treat yourself, don't forget to use the code TRUENORTH for 10% off. That's TRUNORTH, True North, in your voucher code at the checkout for 10% off. So, why wait around? Make your life magical today with Simply Zen. You touched a little bit upon the going into pharmacy and doing a bit of work in pharmacy, and it's 5 years since you qualified, or you've been working in it for 5 years or more?
No, I qualified back in 2015, so
Or even longer?
yeah, so it's been 8 or 9, going into 8 or 9 years now of working within pharmacy, but I did leave the pharmacy job there. Once I moved back to Belfast, I left my job obviously in Dublin as the head pharmacist of the drug treatment centre. I did work for a wee while in the city hospital within the cancer unit. It was only a few months, but I met some amazing, amazing people. Like Belfast people or Northern Irish people are just head and tail above everyone else.
Really?
Is that even a saying? Head and
Yeah,
tail?
head and tails, yeah.
Yeah, just like the banter and the work banter is just it's great. But and it was good to be around sort of people around the same age. So that was good crack there for a few months. But then I did go off and train with some plant medicines. And I was seeing clients on a one-to-one basis in the evenings after the day's work in the pharmacy, and it was getting so busy that it was like I could literally leave the pharmacy work. I don't need to be doing something that I'm not passionate about. Like I don't see myself being there. It was just to make ends meet type of thing.
Yeah.
So I got stuck into the whole wellness. Learned more modalities. Then after a while, some personal health issues was going on, so I felt the need to maybe go back to pharmacy to help financially get by with paying bills, maybe healthcare. Because I didn't live in the country for so long, I didn't have a GP, so everything had to go private and see all these different things. So it was like all the money I was earning for the pharmacy was like spent, like,
Just gone back out again.
Yeah, just spent, gone back out again.
Obviously, 2015 is when you qualified.
Yeah.
What was it that made you want to go into pharmacy? I know you talked about it was sort of the closest thing to sort of being a doctor you felt that you could get to. Was there any particular sort of calling that you felt, to pharmacy, or was there a reason why, or did you always feel it was sort of a stepping stone on the journey?
So at that time, when I went back after I left Jordanstown, I did a few more A levels then in Belfast Met. It was literally just to get out of Belfast. I needed out of Belfast at this point in time, so I would have accepted any degree, but because I was doing chemistry and biology, I knew it had to be within sort of a sciencey background within the uni degree, and I happened to just get accepted into pharmacy, and I went along with it. But it was during it I was like, okay, I actually really interested in this. This is quite fascinating. Not that I wouldn't recommend pharmacy to anyone, but like I see it now as it's really put me to where I am now within my own sort of my wellness work. It's given me really high standards, really high standards on safety and well-being for people, which is paramount. I make sure I always follow protocols, because pharmacy is all SOPs, and so it's like the pharmacy has served its purpose in that sense, and it's also given me a huge background into people's medication that they take, and also just into drugs, and if they're safe to take with some certain plant medicines and things like that. So amazing. I see it as that was a stepping stone.
That is amazing. Like, registered pharmacist, but you're also a Reiki master and teacher like myself. You're a Campbell practitioner. You are trained in NLP. You're trained in hypnotherapy and timeline therapy. And I know the last time we spoke, you were doing your breathwork program with Tim Morrison. You just done that,
Finished that just a few weeks ago,
Yeah, fantastic. So, like, loads of qualifications under your belt. And I suppose you're sort of like myself. Like, you're always sort of searching for the next thing because you just want to grow and expand. And my big thing is to be able to have the tools and the resources and the knowledge and some form of experience to be able to help me help other people. In a sense, I want to delve in a little bit to the area of plant medicines, because it obviously is such a big thing in your journey. For those that don't know, plant medicines, indigenous medicines to different cultures, that aren't sort of pharmaceutical created. They're not chemicals, but they come from plants. Funny enough, I want to start with what I know you most for, and what most people probably will know you most for, and will know a whole wellness most for, which is Campbell, of course. My perception of Campbell before I did it was, prior to my own experience, was different to how it was after I'd experienced it. And obviously I had done that session with you. I've only ever had Campbell once, And I think it was the rapé that scarred me a little bit. But in saying that, before I went into the Cambo, I had this idea that it was, for some reason, a psychedelic of some sort. And I know now, and after, you know, that session, that it isn't a psychedelic. And I know there might be other people listening who also think the Cambo is a psychedelic, because there's still a lot of people that ask me about Cambo and they seem to think that there is a psychedelic component to it. So just for those people to get a greater understanding of what Cambo is and how it's used, talk us through that.
Yeah. So yes, Cambo isn't psychoactive or anything. So what Cambo is, it's a secretion from the large monkey tree frog, which is from the Amazon jungle. The secretion is given off the back of the frogs. Some people say it is a poison or a toxin, but it's not. It's actually been researched and shown that it's actually, the frog is using it as a sunscreen, because it lives high up in the trees, so and it's in the jungle, so it'll be quite warm and humid. So it's obviously to keep the moisture in the frog, because there are amphibians. So it's like it's a waxy layer on the frog.
Yeah. See, I would not have thought that, because everybody does think
it was
it's
actually on like
a
a David
toxin, it's a
Attenborough
poison.
show there not too long ago, but it's not. Yeah, it's
Amazing.
not a thing. And then people are saying it's a drug, but if you look at the definition of a drug is anything that alters the physiology of the cell in the body. So that could be even water, food, obviously smoking, alcohol. We all know that they're drugs, but so people need to change the perception of what a drug is as well. Of anything that could change the physiology, that could even be herbs and spices. So, you know, it's see everything with the good and the bad. So the tribes have been using Cambo for thousands of years, and they use it to clear bad panema, and bad panema literally means just bad luck. They use it to restore energy imbalances for snake bites, malaria, just for their general health. They do use it for hunting as well, because after you've had a Cambo session, you do have a great sense of clarity, a really clear mind, a sharp focus. So these hunters, gatherers in the tribes would use Cambo before they go out on a hunting for a few days to obviously feed the tribe. But it has been used in like the Western world to help with things for mental clarity. And when we have this sense of clearness in the brain, we can see like our patterns that we're living in, if it is to do with addiction, food, porn, sex, whatever it may be that people are struggling with, or just the day-to-day life of depression or too much weight on their shoulders. This can help with the mental clarity, can help you see what you need to do to overcome these stuck patterns.
Yeah. So just off the back of the Cambo, I want to stick with the theme of plant medicines. I'm going to say it's one of the most well-known within the sort of the spiritual development community at the moment, and within the plant medicine community, especially over the past couple of years, because it's grown so much. It's ayahuasca, of course. I think it was this time last year.
It was this time last year. Yes, I was at a retreat. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you can recall the first time that you ever had ayahuasca, because I've spoke to some people, and personally I've never done it myself, but I've spoke to some people, and not everybody the first time is the most memorable time, and you know, some people might take more from the second or third time. But I'm wondering if you can recall the first time you had it and sort of what that experience was like.
Yeah, I recall it very well. It was at a well-known retreat, and it was during like the heavy lockdowns. I was living in an apartment in Dublin, and my housemates were all in relationships, and I was single, and I was like, what the hell, like I am so alone. So I was just like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna get in the car and I am gonna drive halfway across the country to try this brew that makes you trip balls, basically. So I was just like, yeah, didn't tell anyone, went off and did it. Like the first evening, it was a 3-night retreat, so you take the medicine each evening. The first evening was quite mild. It was during the summer and the weather was amazing, so we did it outside, and there was music that was, they play amazing music during it, but there was a particular song which brought up the memory of my mum, and I was singing along to it, and I was just thinking all the happy times with my mum, and then all of a sudden when the song ended, like I cried a little bit, not too much. I didn't want to bring any attention to myself because I was still like this in this wee shell. I'd be like, oh, like I'm scared. So I'd give myself a wee tear under the blanket, and I was just like, oh, like I miss her and things like that. Then, like the next morning, I did combo for the first time there at that retreat, and yeah, I really benefited from the combo, got a lot of clarity from it. And then we did a bit of integration. And during integration is where you share what happened during the ceremony the evening before, and they sort of give you a bit of guidance, what maybe you should look at next, maybe what it means, just to sort of give you some understanding, because you can see sort of symbols and things like that, and there's people there that can understand what the symbols mean, or maybe give you, as I said, a bit of guidance. But the second evening then, you were given a little bit more medicine, maybe a lot more. I was like, it was petrifying, so scary. Yeah, it was really scary. There was so many different. We did it inside this time. The sounds that were going on in the room, I was scared to even lift my head. I was actually scared to go to the toilet. It was more to do with, but it was not that it was just me inside. This is the way I always was. Just like, make yourself so small so no one sees you.
Yeah.
So it was during the ceremony, I was just like, oh, just head under this blanket, eye mask on. And it was showing a lot of things about my lifestyle. Like, if I kept partying or keep going the way I was, it was basically showing me like, you're going to die. It's not going to be good for you. And then it brought up a lot of stuff about abandonment from my mum. But then there was just this big shift in me, and I don't know if maybe I had purged at this point, like I did vomit, but I just lay back and my body started to shake, like it was as if I was about to just blast off the floor, like it was. And then this big golden rays came out of nowhere, and my body, it was vibrating just with this, and it felt like pure love was just being poured into me, and my body was trembling. It was like really overwhelming. It was like, okay, that's enough, like stop. But it just kept coming, and there was like this is the first time ever I really felt connected to my body. I was aware of like things going on in my body, like pains, maybe blockages, and the first thing that was going through my head was like, oh my God, there's a lump here in my stomach, like I'm gonna have to go to the doctor, like do I have cancer or something like that? But as the evening went on, I was understanding that this is where I'm holding emotions and blockages.
Right.
And I was just doing a bit of belly work, like pushing on different parts of my belly. And that evening as well, like I really connected to my, like I was as if I was reborn. Like my grandfather, my dad's dad, was murdered 3 years before I was born, but I was born on his anniversary 3 years later.
Right.
And it showed me that because I was born on his anniversary, like the sadness and the grief, the anxiety of me being born on this day was sort of all being put into me when I was born.
Yeah.
So this was the environment that I was born into. So it was like I was born with this. So it was, like that was really clear. The next morning during the integration, I was like, what the hell? Like,
You're like, somebody give me some answers here.
Yeah, I was like, I have to do that again, like for
Yeah.
a final night. So on the third and final night, I had a really lovely experience. It was a lot more gentle. I was shown, I believe that I met the creator, like source or God, whatever you want to call him. And it was just all about love. And it showed me two beings dancing around with each other, but like in a really loving way. And it just felt like pure love. And it was just amazing. And then on the final day, just saying goodbye to everyone, like, because you meet a lot of amazing people at these retreats. It just started to, that's when the emotions just started to flow really uncontrollably. I cried a lot because it was just like, what have I been missing? Like, why like in my life? Like, why have I been so frightened of myself, or like just not being happy and things like that? So after the retreat, I did take a few days off work, and I went back. I did live in Dublin at the time when I went to the retreat, so I came back to Belfast and I stayed with my family for a few days. And I told them all about the experience, which I maybe shouldn't have, because they were like, "You off your head?" And I was like, but like I told them like all the details and how I was feeling. I was feeling amazing, and things. I was trying to still make sense of it all, obviously. But in the coming weeks after that, I felt like there was stuff I had to get off my chest regarding like the issues with my mum when she left when I was younger, So I had to express them to her because I felt like they were so raw to the surface, but I didn't really think about how I'd feel afterwards. So after it didn't really go the way that I was expecting it to go, and I was, I ended up going into a really, really dark place, like suicidal thoughts, like which I'd never had before. Just this anxiety was so bad that I was like, how do I stop this anxiety? And then it was just like, you can just stop it at a,
That was it.
like you can stop it by ending your own life. And I was like, oh my god, I actually thought that. And then me thinking that, it escalated it even further. So that went on for I'd say for like a few months.
Right.
And I ended up starting to drink again and going out to weekends and taking drugs. Well, actually, we were in lockdown, so it wasn't really. I was actually just doing it on my own in the house. So that
You
was
thought
a bit of
you
a
were
lie.
doing it,
Yeah, I
but you
thought
were
it was
just
out at
sitting
like
on
a
your own.
party, but I was sitting like a self one-to-one party. Like, it ended up going a bit downhill, and that's why I'm really saying this, because it's not for everyone. It can bring stuff to the surface that we are not ready to look at, and I thought I was ready, but I, feeling so low and rubbish after the first retreat, I remember being woken up in the middle of the night at about 4 a.m. and something told me, message that retreat and see is there space for that weekend. And I did, and I got a reply and said there was a space. So 2 days later I went off and did it again, because I knew that I could not go to the doctor. It was just like, what I was feeling was because I had took the band-aid off, whatever I had been bottling up for so long. It was like it was released and nothing was going to contain this. If I was to go on medication, it was going to be more detrimental to my mental health. After that, I just felt so free, so free. And it's since then, that second retreat, where it completely changed my life. I have not felt those type of feelings ever again.
Wow.
And I do still work with the medicine, but it's more for just growth, like the information and like the downloads. But even though I know that they're already within me, but they're just parts of me that I haven't been able to access
Yeah,
yet.
you haven't tapped into.
And it really, really helps with my spiritual growth and just being really centered and grounded, even though some people may feel that they're being blown through the universe.
Yeah.
But I would be like, even though I have quite psychedelic experience on it, still staying centered and grounded. And it's always about being in this body, because I am still human at the end of the day. And I'm living this human experience. So I really, really do a lot of body work on myself during the ceremony to help clear these blockages, stagnant energies, because I'm not a pure clear channel. None of us are. There's still stuff when I come back after the retreats that trigger me or bring things to the surface again that I thought I maybe dealt with, or there's just something new, like it's a new layer of you that you're discovering. And that's why I keep working with the medicine.
Absolutely. The other thing, just on the end of plant medicines, that I wanted to talk to you about was psilocybin and mushrooms. A lot of people within, our community, our industry, in a sense, I want to call it, but it's I don't really like that word. It's very commercialized. There is this sort of phenomenon, with psilocybin as an effective plant medicine for things very much so now through research for depression. The Johns Hopkins Center for, I think it's Psychedelic and Consciousness Research in the US last year. Now, they've been doing research on this for years, and I don't know if you follow it or anything like that. Not everybody does, of course. But just last year in 2022, they reported that there were substantial antidepressant effects of psilocybin assisted therapy. And of course that's with like psychotherapy and stuff in the background. But I just wanted your thoughts on that, like on the back of psilocybin and mushrooms.
Yeah, so I do 100% believe in psychedelics, mushrooms, psilocybin, for the treatment of things like anxiety, depression. The only thing is, it seems like it's going in the hands of the pharmaceutical industry, which I strongly believe takes away the spirit of what these medicines are. Their intentions behind why these things are being used is, well, why they're exploiting the effects and the positive effects of these medicines for their own financial gain. However, yes, it could potentially leave people in a better place mentally, and allow them to live a more fulfilled life. However, I believe that everything has a spirit, and the spirit of the medicine will obviously work for what's right for the spirit of the medicine. And I believe that everything should be done in more of a ceremonial aspect, because if we're doing like psychedelic assisted therapy, I do remember reading some paper, or it was might have been a YouTube video, that they did it in a clinical setting, and the participants didn't really get the benefits of it when it was done in more of a ceremonial, with the right environment. So maybe the right lighting, the right music, the right sort of intentions into it. When they did it in a more ceremonial setting, the participants got a lot more from it. So I do believe that these medicines should be held in a really high regard and used by, say, facilitators who have the right intentions and are keeping it true to the spirit of the medicine. But I do strongly believe that they have the benefits to help with depression and anxiety and a lot of other complex conditions like PTSD and things like that.
Yeah, that was another point I wanted to touch upon, you know, like how important it is to keep within ceremonies, you know, because I know you and I both do ceremonies of different kinds, but how important it is to keep the sacredness of the medicine. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of, you know, keeping the sacred element of the medicine and respecting it, you know, like, because it's so important in ceremony.
Yeah, that was the reason why I created my new journey, the new ceremonies, the plant medicine spirit journey. Within the little day retreat that I'm offering is, and it wasn't a plug or anything, just FYI.
Plug it anyway.
It was to highlight to people the importance of intentions and working with things in a ceremonial, sacred way for them to get the best benefit from it, because you really do connect to the spirit of the medicine, and each spirit of the medicine has different elements to teach us. These are master teachers, master plants, and even if it isn't a plant medicine, as I said, the breath has a spirit. If you're working with the spirit of the medicine, it will help you to release the things that you don't need to have anymore, the things that you need to let go. So sacredness, respect are key to working with any type of medicine, or in anything in the ceremonial space, even if it's through meditation even, because we are also connected energetically and consciously. It's like through meditation, if we all partook in a deep meditation, say there was 10 people in the room, our energies would be able to take us a lot further than what if there was only 2 people in the room doing it, another 8 are just lying there scrolling through Instagram, you know. Or it's the energy, it's the sacredness of everything, it's the connectedness, and it's ceremony is key.
Intention, you know, like I think that's the main word that I took from that, you know. And I think with everything that we do, it is intention, you know. And you don't have to be spiritual to put intention into something, you know. Like intention could be just simply just waking up and intending to be grateful that you're awake, you know. Like intending to just do something nice for somebody that day, you know, like whether like it's
even for yourself, if it's just something nice for you.
It's putting intention into it and being conscious about that intention, you know, and about the action that you're taking. It's I think it's really important. Energy healing, we both do it as well, both Reiki masters and teachers. Energy work in general comes in a lot of different forms and different modalities, but I'm always just curious, just on a personal level, you know, what was your reason for getting into energy work, or why did you feel called to it?
So as I mentioned previously, that when my parents separated, I was around the age of 13, and I moved to Belfast with my dad. My dad was going through a really difficult time as well then, having to look after 4 kids, and he was actually quite unwell with a health condition, and he was seeing a lady on the Glen Road, and she was doing reflexology and Reiki on him, and it really helped him through a difficult period. But around that time, I was in school, and like I was just getting these really strange attacks that I've never had before. The doctor did say that I was having panic attacks. So it was obviously me thinking, everyone's parents break up, everything's cool, but like it was having an impact on my body, which I didn't know what was going on. So my dad asked the lady who was offering him Reiki, would she see his son? So I was receiving Reiki from the lady, And I was going every week for about 6 weeks, and I noticed huge benefits from it. I was a lot more calmer. Things seemed to be going a lot better, even in my life. Do you know, even though I was only 13, but at that time, like, my life was flipped upside down. So it really did help. And during it as well, like, I felt a really strong connection to Archangel Michael. I always sort of thought that I was like quite spiritual or in tune to things, but it was during that Reiki session with that lady. She guided me through to meet angels who were around me through like meditation, and Archangel Michael has always like been there with me, and I call upon his protection on a daily basis all the time. I know he's always there with me. It's like it's a nice wee feeling there to know that I'm always protected. But since I left the pharmacy and then I started to work with the Cambo's not for everyone. It's got a lot of contraindications, especially with people with like heart conditions or severe mental health issues like schizophrenia or bipolar. But working with the plant medicines, I knew that everything was just energy. Even though you're purging during Cambo, you're releasing a stagnant, stuck energy that's been within you. So I thought maybe the next step then was for me to learn Reiki, so I could offer it to people who are contraindicated for the Cambo. So it was just like broadening my horizons, and again, it was learning for me again and self-development, but then something that I could offer to clients as well who are looking an alternative to plant medicine and a bit of energy healing.
Just sort of before we close off with what I call the magic three, or the last three questions, which are just sort of like quick fire questions. Is there anything you're currently working on or working towards, personally or professionally, just in life?
Personally, so I'll actually touch on a few things, because the past year, like, when I first set up a Whole Wellness, I didn't set any boundaries. I was there at any time anyone wanted to call me. People messaged me at any time, and I felt I was obliged to respond, because I was like, I need to help everyone. Like, but I know deep down now that I can't help everyone. They can only help themselves. So setting boundaries at the minute is very prevalent, and people pleasing. People pleasing is a really big thing at the minute, because I could be doing something like to suit someone else, but deep down it's not aligned with me. I'm not getting fulfilled from it, and then I come away and I'm like, you beat yourself up. So I'm really trying to just stay true to me. Setting boundaries, saying no. Like, saying no is, everyone thinks it's so hard, but it's literally 2 letters and it's very easy to say. So setting boundaries and trying to cut people pleasing out. But I'm also really working on my physical health, because spiritually and mentally I feel aligned, and I feel that for me to grow and be the best version of myself, my physical body has to come into play as well here. And over the past year, like, I've been diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. I have arthritis in both my feet, so I've really struggled to sometimes get up out of bed or do daily activities just with pain, and I don't want to go down the route of medication. So again, I'm looking at the emotional aspects of this, and what it is it's teaching me. So I'm seeing it all as blessings, because it's making me grow into a better version of myself. I'm going to level up within the Cambo. I'm doing the advanced Cambo practitioners course in a few weeks. It's in Wales, and with that, it allows me then to work a lot more with people with addictions, because obviously within each level, like, there's only a certain competency that we can work within, and within the next level, we do look a lot more of the addictions, like people addicted to diazepams or opiates, or especially in Belfast, pregabalin, Lyrica, or buds is what they're called, is so rife. It's like, it's insane. So I really hope that when I come back to work with a lot more clients who are struggling with addiction to, like, Lyrica or Budweiser is what the street name's called. So, because it is so bad in Belfast. And other things, I've got a lot of workshops planned, collaborations with different facilitators, with yourself, Podrick, down the line, and it's just to offer different types of things. Like, my ideas are so fast, but I just need to get the wheels in motion, and get things starting. I hope to do a retreat this summer using plant medicines and other modalities such as drumming, breathwork, meditation, movement. Again, it's very embodying. It encompasses a lot of different energies within us and around us. And throughout all this, I do want to collaborate a lot more with different facilitators to just offer workshops that aren't being offered at the minute. I don't want to go into too much detail because I want them to be unique and offered only by myself and other friends.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, no, it does. There's plenty going on, you know, personally, professionally, you know, and there's a lot of expansion going on. So, you know, good luck with it. And not that you'll need it anyway, you know.
The universe is in my favour.
It's aligned. It's aligned. Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, the magic three are the last three questions that we have.
Probably the most nervous questions.
Probably are. These are like really the only structured questions. Everything else is just based on you. So the magic three, they're the same three questions for everybody that comes in, but everybody obviously will have potentially different answers. So question one, what is the best advice you've ever been given or you've heard?
Stay true to you is what's really coming through. Stay true to you.
Yeah.
And it's probably tying into what's going on personally with me at the minute as well, like around some it's just personal things that I like. It's like internal homophobia towards myself, but like I've worked through that quite a bit recently. But it's just at the forefront at the minute.
Yeah.
Being true to me and just not doing anything to suit anyone else or being fake. Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Question two: what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in life so far? So far.
What's the most valuable lesson? Just enjoy it. Yeah, just enjoy life. Even the simplicities of it, you know, walks in nature, out sea swimming, just being with friends. Just enjoy every aspect as long as tough as they are or as beautiful as they are. Like there's blessings in all of it.
Yeah, amazing. And last one, true north is direction towards purpose. What do you define as your purpose at this stage of your life? Because like I said earlier on, I firmly believe that there's different purposes across different points in your life. And a lot of us sort of think that we have this one overarching purpose. But yeah, so what is your true north at the moment?
At this moment, my true north is me, sorting out my physical ailments, physical conditions, and getting it fully aligned spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. That's really, like, I do believe at this moment in time, I am finding my true self. It's taken a few years, but a few tough years and a few amazing years. But at this moment in time, it's my true north is just me, and everything else will follow. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's something that everybody should be able to take home with them. You know,
it's cheesy as all that.
No, but it's amazing. You know, like true north should be you, and when you reach that sort
everything
of
else.
That point, everything else falls into place. It aligns. Yeah, amazing. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming on.
You so
I
much,
really
Patrick.
appreciate it. And let us know how you found Paul on the podcast. If there are any questions you have, feel free to send them in to us on our social medias, which will all be in the link below. And Paul, if you want to share any of your social medias or anything, where can people find you?
Yeah, my Instagram page is aho_wellness, and on Facebook it's just aho wellness. And you can direct message me there or just follow the posts and likes.
Wonderful. Listen, guys, thank you very much. Thank you again to Paul for coming on the
Thank you so much,
podcast,
Patrick.
and hopefully he'll be back very soon. Have a great week.
Bye.